Linda. This is Linda's world, quite literally. I am sitting on the middle pillow of my couch, the place where before work in the morning and after work at night, and all weekends if I could possibly help it, I sit and absorb the content of other people. This is the place where I play music, where I watch television, where I watch YouTube, where I read books, where I write my own stories, where I sit and contemplate the media that I've just ingested and make informed opinions about them, whether they're a YouTube video that just came out or a song that the Doors sang in the 1960s. This is the place I feel most comfortable. This is the place where I do all my thinking. And because I feel so comfortable thinking in this place, I figured I'd turn on the camera today and think out loud with you guys. Now, I was supposed to open up this new commentary season of my channel by talking about the beautiful skip-free album that is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, and I absolutely am going to. But after about a week's worth of time consuming the videos on this topic by Rachel Oates, I felt like I couldn't keep my mouth shut any longer, and this is what I was inspired to talk about first. The Childless by Choice movement is something that I feel incredibly passionately about as a person who's 46 years old and happy to report is not the mother of human children. I usually get a little overly emotional when I discuss this topic, or I don't make my point, or I don't get it across, or I just back off and avoid the topic, you know, when people are suggesting that there's something wrong with me inherently for being this way. And I have never really found a good way to put it. So Rachel, thank you so much. I tip my Starbucks beverage to you because you've done that. If there could be a younger British version of me out there, I think I found it. So why don't we go ahead and go on with the topic. Oh, but before we do, I would like to say that if anything I say today resonates with you, or if you just want to show support for a hard-working middle-aged lady, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below this video, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because then when this new commentary season gets underway, you'll be alerted when I make new videos. Childless by choice. Shall we? Now, I want to begin this video by saying that I absolutely believe that being free of shame and free of judgment is a two-way street. You're not going to find me making a video about how people, or even just saying it among people that I know, like in the world, that people are bad for being parents, or the people have made the wrong choice by being parents. Obviously, babies are born every day, and people, you know, bring other people into the world, and we continue on as a species, and that's just fantastic. It's just that I'm a person who doesn't want to take part in that specifically. Both of my brothers have given my mother some grandchildren, and hi to Charlotte, Olivia, Johnny, and Hannah, and that's just absolutely fantastic. But I give my mother dog grandchildren, and I'm going to continue to do so, and that's just the way it is. Now, in Rachel Oates' videos, she mentioned a whole lot of things about the Childless by Choice movement as it pertains to herself and the way that she sees it and the commentary that she gets from other people. And she went ahead and opened up the comments on her video for people who had their questions for her. And I'm actually going to do the same thing. Now, I've taken a couple of notes, and I really sat down and was like, well, what are the concrete list of reasons why you feel as though you are not a person who's supposed to have human children? And I came up with quite a few, and I'd like to share them with you today. My purpose in this is not to sway a person's decision one way or the other. My purpose in this is not to poke fun at people who feel differently than me. My purpose in this video is simply to explain myself in hopes that somewhere out there there's a person who's my age, or Rachel's age, or younger, or older, as I approach the end of my fertility in this decade, and kind of feel like they're less alone, because that's kind of the point of my channel, is making people, including myself, feel less alone. So let's get started. Now, I've opened up about this on my channel before, and I like to give this as the #1 leading reason why I am not going to ever mother human children. And that is the fact that I am mentally ill. I'm a person who's bipolar, and my bipolar disorder is kind of different than the normal cyclical high ups and downs that you see. I actually have an entire video that I'll link in the description below this about how I was bipolar and went undiagnosed for many years. And the thing is that, like, there's two like branches of this particular reason, and I'll go from one to the other. The first of which is genetics. Now, I suffer from bipolar disorder and a couple of other mental issues in, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, not the least of which is incredibly crippling anxiety and OCD. And I'm not a person who's out here self-diagnosing. These are things the doctor has told me, and they're things that manifest themselves very much in my daily life, including the bipolar disorder that I speak of. Now, when I say that I'm not the cyclical up and down person, that's absolutely true. Bipolar disorder is a spectrum, as we're finding out more and more in psychology. And I am one of those people who always presents manic while always feeling depressed. It's almost as if, this is like the littlest crash course I could possibly give you, is that it's almost like if there was a little man in here, he's saying, oh no, we're so depressed that we have to act crazy. And we go out there and act manically together, the little man and I. And I absolutely do not intend to pass that particular disorder onto my child. I do not want, and I've said this before to friends of mine, and I'll say it here, I absolutely do not want 30 years from now, a 5-foot blonde girl walking up and down the streets of Brooklyn, New York, where I live, in tears and drunk or high, and screaming at people and feeling belittled and talking with pressured speech and feeling like there were bumblebees crawling inside her skin with tiny little Ginsu knives, and not understanding as she sobs on the sidewalk why everybody has abandoned her because she thought she was putting her best foot forward. I don't wish that pain on anybody, let alone my fictitious child. And it would be morally reprehensible of me to mother a child and just go, well, you deal with it, kid, because it's absolutely horrendous. And I don't wish my bipolar disorder on anybody at all. Now, the other branch of this is my abilities to mother as a person who suffers from mental illness. I understand that my intentions would be good, and I am by no means saying that if a person has a mental disorder that they should be out here sterilizing themselves. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, once again, that this is what works best for me. I take medication daily for my disorder, and after doing a whole lot of research for various reasons, I have been able to draw the conclusion that if I were to get pregnant and carry a baby to term, then I wouldn't be able during the course of the 9 months to take my medication daily. This would present a huge problem. The mania that I experience in bipolar disorder is not the kind you see in the movies where people are like partying at the club and going to Vegas and doing blow off a stripper's ass. This is the kind of bipolar disorder mania where I'm shouting and screaming and issuing threats and behaving in an extremely aggressive manner. And I absolutely foresee myself being like 6 months pregnant and sitting in a jail cell if I didn't take the wonderful lithium every single night that puts me and my chemical imbalances in the right spot so that I could be a productive member of society. I see it, and I'm not willing to do that. Who wants a baby born in prison? The YouTuber Jessica Kent, whose videos I also frequent a lot, and I will absolutely be reviewing on this channel as it goes forward, she had a baby in prison for other reasons, and she explains the horrific situation they're in. That's not what I'm trying to do at 46 years old, and it's not what I'm trying to do, or was trying to do, back in the days before, when my fertility was a lot younger. Also, the kind of mother I'd be is up in question, because as a person who suffers from a mental illness, it's totally possible for your children who are totally mimics, to imitate or latch onto traits of mine that are absolutely not traits that are to be latched onto. I come with a lot of bugs in my software, and those bugs are wildly visible to a lot of the human race. Adults who can make informed decisions often don't jive with my behaviors. So how am I going to expect a 3-year-old kid to not do as mommy does and not get into a whole heap of trouble? I would be the absolute worst role model for a child in the history of man. That's hyperbole. I mean, Charles Manson's alive, isn't he? No, Charles Manson's dead. Well, anyway, you get my meaning. Now, the next reason that I put on the list that I drew up today when I was planning this video is the fact that I do not have financial stability. Now, I am a high school English teacher. I've been one of these for exactly half my life, 23 years. And I took on the career of teaching, knowing full well that I would never be a millionaire. I took it on because it was something I wanted to do. I have heaps of regret about it, which is a whole other video in itself. And I live paycheck to paycheck. I kind of live paycheck to 5 days before paycheck, if I'm being honest these days. And the thing is that, like, to bring a child into a financially insecure home would be detrimental to their development in every conceivable way and absolutely categorically unfair. How many adverbs can I sneak into this video? I know, I have ears. I hear myself. Now, financial security, I actually really fundamentally believe is something that people have to seriously take into consideration before they bring a child into the world. I understand that accidents happen. I understand that people say, the hell with it, we'll figure it out later, and then they do, or they don't. And it's something that I've seen time and time again exist in my own family, in my own community, and among many of my friends. I myself am the oldest of 3 children, and I remember being a really little kid, like really little, like 2, and I remember things that we couldn't afford. I didn't have the brain power as a 2-year-old to understand we don't have money, so we can't get an air conditioner, but I remember the sensation of being hot. And I, certainly remember being 11 and being told the things we couldn't afford because my mother was not working because she was having my brother. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you my family's details that much, but the point is that we struggled, as people do, and I am not trying to make another little blonde girl struggle. I keep on talking about little blonde girls. I could totally have had a son, and he could totally have had dark hair, but, I'm painting a picture. Now, financial security, I think, extends beyond being able to food, clothe, and shelter your child, which, quite frankly, I'd probably be at a loss for a couple of days before payday myself. I also think that it extends to giving the children enrichment, like being able to afford a good, solid college education for my child, should they want to pursue a career in the future that requires an education. Or, even devoid of the idea of a career, college is a way to enrich one's mind. It's surely not the only way to enrich one's mind, but even the other ways are things I couldn't afford. Vacations to foreign countries so that my child could absorb other cultures and make informed decisions about which ones they appreciate more and want to revisit as they grow up. Things like museums and concerts and Broadway shows and the things that we as a family used to scrape together to go do, and I now scrape together to go do. That extra plane ticket, that extra concert ticket, that extra Broadway ticket is something that I just can't work into my bank account. And the fact that I would be depriving my child of those kind of things, and sometimes, due to the state of the economy, actually good, nutritious food, that's terrible. And that's not something I'm willing to visit upon an innocent child, no matter whether or not it's a boy with dark hair or a girl with blonde, or vice versa. I think you get my meaning. Now, my physical disability is a third reason why I do not intend to mother human children. And by that, I mean this. Currently, and for the past maybe 7-8 years now, I've been going to a series of doctors, mostly fruitlessly, to figure out why it is that the symptoms that I'm experiencing in my body that worsen every day are getting in the way of my conducting business. Why they make me have to take a day off from work, why they make me incapable of feeling my foot sometimes, why I have to sit down to put on my socks because of balance issues, and why I suffer from a tremendous amount of pain in my back and my extremities and various things like that I won't bore you with. But the jury's still out as to whether or not I'm suffering from multiple sclerosis. I absolutely have the crippling arthritis of a person who's 70 at the age of 46. And I gotta tell you, running after a child is absolutely necessary to keep them out of harm's way, but not something that's feasible for my body. I can barely keep up with my own self and my little King Charles Cavalier named Chloe, who is a cat-like dog who kind of doesn't run anywhere. That would not be a good idea. The next reason why I feel as though I would not be making a right choice if I had human children is actually a bit of a selfish one. And it's funny. I don't find selfishness a bad thing to a certain degree, but it's one of those things where, I recognize this, and so it's better to recognize it now than after there's a baby in a crib who needs me. And it is the fact that I enjoy very much the act of occasionally ingesting recreational drugs. I am not a teetotaling person. Now, I quit alcohol a long time ago. Not to say I had a problem with alcohol, but I stopped drinking alcohol because I found that it wasn't what I was after. It didn't match my bipolar disorder. Mania got worse. It was this. I can write you a book about why I don't drink anymore, but that is not to say that when substances of the non-liquid variety enter my path, I don't occasionally indulge. And this is something that I think would be wildly unfair to do if I were a mother. I enjoy my free time. I enjoy whether I'm taking a substance or not, my free time. Sometimes that substance is just a whole bunch of caffeine. But the thing is that I really do appreciate the downtime and the slightly altering of my mental makeup for the evening. And this isn't something that I practice a lot. It's not something that presents a problem in my daily life whatsoever. But I do not have an addictive personality, but I have a fun one. And I occasionally like to indulge in various alternative means of fun. Is this a selfish thing? Maybe. Am I a selfish person? Perhaps. But I'm selfless enough not to visit the pain of watching your parent under the influence to a child. And that's pretty much all I have to say in the matter. Now, I'm going to give you the next reason, and you're going to tell me, Linda, that's one of those things that's a misnomer, and I'm here to tell you you're reading the wrong literature. And that is the overpopulation of our planet. I absolutely fundamentally believe that until we can put every single child on this planet to bed on a full belly, with safety and security, a lock on his door, access to medical care, and a free public education, we have no business creating new ones. I absolutely do not believe that the reduction of the world's resources at the most alarming rate in every conceivable way is a world that I want to bring my child into. The world that I was born into is the world we see here today. And it's an imperfect world in many ways, but I at least had a good run. I was at least 35 before I noticed the shift start to appear in the climate and in the way information is distributed, and food sources, and the way that education is dealt with, and the way that we are globalizing, and the way that we are ignoring the needs of the most vulnerable of people on the planet of any age, race, and gender. I'm not sure that I want to put a child into the world who will be sucking onto the already dwindling resources of my government or any other government in a country where they choose to put themselves. I think that it's a deplorable act, and I don't want to contribute to, any more than I have, the reduction of resources on the planet. And I do not want that little blonde girl to have to deal with the consequences when oceans become deserts and deserts become oceans, and we're all hitting each other over the head for food and screaming in pain. I don't want to inflict that on my child, nor do I want to inflict that on myself, nor do I want to watch it occur if my child and I exist on the planet together during those times. It's not going to happen. My final reason is a reason that is kind of basic, kind of simple, kind of just there it is, and I really don't need to explain it, although I will because I love over-explaining things, and that is the fact that I just don't want to. Now, I hear you, and I understand what you're saying there, and you're saying that it's a selfish act too. I can dig it, but hear me out, is that the I don't want to is my recognizing already the fact that it's not something that I'm into. It's recognizing before pregnancy occurs that I don't want to engage in that activity. Be that person, step into that role, and live in it until my death. Do you see? Like, I know before I conceive a baby that it's wrong. The opposite, you ask, would be for me to say, maybe the world is wrong. Maybe I'll grow accustomed to it. Maybe it's not enough to not want it. I'll give this a whirl, and then go ahead and have a baby. And now there's a new human on the planet because of me, and I am not taking to it, and I'm not doing the best job, or my heart isn't into it, or whatever. There's lots of people, fathers and mothers both, who have children and have honestly said that if they had to do it again, they wouldn't. And they don't not care for their children, but they kind of do so begrudgingly, and because that's what they have to do now, and they feel incredibly trapped, and their child feels that. I guarantee you a child feels when his parent doesn't want him, okay? A child feels forced conditional love. They all do. All you have to do is scratch the surface very delicately of any person who's 30, 40, 50, 60 on the planet. Ask them how their parents dealt with them as youngsters, and listen to the pain in their hearts come right out their mouth when they talk about the begrudging way their mothers shove food in their face, their fathers disciplined them, they were told wait for payday and put into a room for punishment, and their needs were never met. Ask them about that. They're going to tell you that a half-assed parent is an abomination. I don't not do well with children. I do well with them very much. What I do actually, it's kind of funny because kids actually kind of really enjoy me, is they've always sort of gravitated toward me because I'm like cool to them. You know, I have like cool stuff that they want to play with or something. I don't know. And they sense a basic decency in me, I'm sure. And they want to hang around me, like my nieces and my nephew, let's say, for an example, or younger children on the block when I was younger and growing up and still lived at home. And we had this very busy block where there were a lot of kids on scooters, you know, back in the day when my little brother was really little. And they sort of gravitated towards me. And what I do is I just sort of turn on dog mom. I talk to them the way I talked to Chloe and Sophia before her and all of the other animals in my life, like my little pug nephew Griffin. And I just do that. I just put on dog mom voice, and that's how I entertain children, and it seems to work. But it's not something that I enjoy doing. Like, I don't not think they're cute. I don't not think that they're adorable. They're hilarious. I enjoy their company. I think it's so it's cute. But it's a kind of cuteness that I can take or leave in my own home, preferring to leave it. It's a cuteness that has a timestamp for me. It's a cuteness that I do not think is cute enough to warrant changing my entire life. I don't want to put on dog mom voice for human babies for the rest of my life, and I don't think it would be fair for them to listen to it. So therefore, if at all costs, I do not interact with children. It's not helping anybody. It's not helping me. It's not helping the kid. It's not helping the poor, unfortunate parents who look upon some weird blonde lady like talking to their kids and being like, oh wow, dig the discomfort. You know, it's not helping anybody. And so I steer clear of it if I possibly can. I don't wish them harm. I don't not love them. I love them. From here. And that's what I can give. And if that makes me a selfish person, well, so be it. Now, I want to conclude the video today by saying that if you have not yet checked out Rachel Oates' channel, do that, because it's just so absolutely incredible. It's like, I swear to God, it's like watching younger British me talking, you know, and if you had any interest in this, you'll definitely have interest in that. And it's not just this childless by choice thing. She goes ahead and talks about, she critiques like books about like, you know, Christians' guides to dating. She critiques books that are fictional and are out for sale, and poetry and literature and, you know, other YouTubers. And it's just an absolutely wonderful commentary channel that I can't wait to turn on and watch some more of when this video is done. And I'm not nearly done with her yet. I have other stuff to see. And it's because I feel as though I'm doing my duty to the planet best by making informed decisions about content that I see and then using it in other areas of my life, in my teaching, in these videos, among conversations with friends, in dealing with family members and how they're processing their grief and their emotions and their aging process and whatever. It makes me a more well-rounded individual to consume content and then sort of scramble it up in my head and say, well, this is like that episode of blank. This is like the lyric in blank song. This is like when the news was all about this topic. And so you see the parallel here. Like, I find that I'm doing good for the planet without children by doing what I do, which is being a content sponge and then forming the ideas as I see fit about them, digesting it, bringing it back out and saying, hey world, these are the topics on the table. What do you think? How can we grow and be better? And I'm really happy that I do that. And it's what brings me out of bed in the morning, whether I'm depressed and bipolar or not. And it was my pleasure to have done that today with you, sparked by this video by Rachel Oates. So I conclude. Thank you so much for listening to a middle-aged woman ramble. And if you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and let me know what you think. I welcome your comments. It's interesting. I am definitely probably getting comments both yay and nay, and I welcome all of it because I welcome the dialogue, because I think that it's only through discourse and narrative that we learn, you know, and that we make informed decisions when we put on content, and we make informed decisions about how to live our lives, including parenting decisions. And I couldn't be happier to be just another voice in the crowd with you all. So thanks a lot, and I'll catch you on the next one, which is actually about Fleetwood Mac's rumors. I promise. Bye.